Hello YouTube, Super Tam64. Welcome to Her Lie I Tried to Believe. Now, fair warning before I start this. This game supposedly deals with some really heavy topics, or at least that's what I was told by looking through the reviews. So, yeah, fair warning. I'm not sure exactly what those are. I think I heard somewhere that it deals with like abusive relationships or something. So just fair warning. Let's go ahead and start. I wonder why I didn't notice at the time the meaning behind all this. Now that I understand it, I can declare with certainty that my life would have been completely different had I seen through it sooner. Was I too insensitive? Or maybe I simply wished I didn't really understand. No matter. Maybe you will see the truth where I couldn't. It all started in elementary school. Not middle school nor high school, but elementary school. This is still how long she's been tormenting me. Yes, a girl. It's always about a girl, isn't it? Couldn't have been a rivalry between boys. No, it needed to be a girl. Fuck. There's no predetermined time to mark when exactly this happened. It just kinda turned out this way, I guess. The moment I laid my eyes on her, I knew I would hate her. She was tall. Well, not tall, but still taller than me back then. You know how it goes. Her hair was not very long. Boyish would probably be a good way to define it. But again, this wasn't such a surprise during that time. Her strength must have been similar to mine, even. Her features resembled most of the girls. She wasn't special, that's for sure. She had brown eyes, black hair, cute little girl, and it stopped at that. Just that. Yet there was one thing. Only one simple thing that separated her from the rest of those pure girls. Alright, I didn't know it was extreme close-up time. Her eyes. There's something. I'm not talking about twinkles or anything of the sort. I'm talking about something darker. Something that doesn't belong to a kid. But she hid it. Or at least tried to. And it worked with most people. But not with me. I wonder if she saw the same thing in my eyes. Maybe that's why I felt so much contempt for her. Maybe that's why she answered that contempt with some unknown feelings of her own. I don't know how it happened. Did she provoke me first? Or was I the one pushing this conception that the sole intent of our relationship? The fact that we were rivals. I think it started because she was beating me at running. She was beating me at pretty much everything, really. But I think running was something more perceivable, and that's why I felt it weighing so much more on my mind. To be beaten by a girl. And it wasn't that she had a talent for running or whatever. It was simply that I was mediocre. And it would have probably been alright with me if it weren't for that smile. Jesus Christ, why do you have to... I don't know if that's an attempt at a jump scare, but... Alright, whatever. That smile. Always teasing me, so brightly so. And it wasn't that compelling either. I mean, more often than not, she would be missing some teeth due to growth, so... But again, I don't fully remember why she started doing this. But every time she finished before me in a race or in PE, she always looked at me with that smile and say, "Better luck next time, Tim." For me, it was the greatest insult. For a boy who tries to distinguish himself from the others in an environment such as elementary school, to be beaten and laughed at by a girl. There's no way I wouldn't take it personally, so I kind of made it my life mission to be here at every opportunity I'd get. But sadly for me, I was just an average guy. And while she was too an average girl, she was still slightly better than I was. I think for her, it was simply a game. Something to put a smile on her face, or to feel proud about. Seeing me fail and looking so irritated by that fact, she might have thought I was also amusing myself somehow. See, this seems like, back in like when I was a kid, when it was still that age of like, oh, like boys have to do boy things and girls have to do girl things. Not like now where there's more equality, but it's still kind of ruled by the people who are just complete assholes about it. Anyway, it was only when winter came that she understood the depth of my feelings. Ooh, pretty snow. We were playing King of the Hill on a snow mountain with a couple of kids. I said we, but we weren't friends or even really acquainted with one another. We knew each other's names, and that was that. Maybe it made even more of an impact because of this. Because no one was really playing aggressively. We were just kind of pushing each other out from the top of the mountain to claim it our own. But when I saw her, that girl, climb to the top of the mountain and tried to take even this fleeting achievement from me, I kind of just snapped. I remember thinking, this is mine! You won't take it away from me! And she didn't. She didn't, because I grabbed her with all my strength and threw her to the bottom of the mountain, directly on hard ground. You're kind of an asshole, Tim, aren't you? Of course, you were a kid, so, you know. You're still an asshole, man. It must have hurt. It must have hurt really badly. Or really bad. But my thoughts weren't there. I was completely euphoric with the idea that I protected what was mine. That I was finally beating her at something. I guess her strengths were really no match, after all. The kids were all regrouping themselves around her for some reason. I finally understood that I did something I shouldn't have. Their glares on me told me so. Yet I didn't feel bad. I mean, those girls would torment me way more than this. But they didn't know. How could they know? Finally, the girl, Cassandra, got up painfully from the ground. She didn't cry. She didn't try to stir up compassion from those around her. No. She simply looked at me. Oh, now she's angry. Looked at me with those eyes. That's when I knew she finally understood how I feel. That's when I knew she finally started hating me. She became serious. That rivalry I thought we had was nothing more than normality for her. So, by seriously trying to beat me at everything, she became one of the best students in her class. I could say some stupid shit, like I wanted her to become this way because I knew she was faking to be someone else, but that's clearly not the case. The only reasons I ever had in wanting to crush her were simply juvenile and immature ones at best. I don't think she was faked before by any stretch of the imagination. I just think she had that much potential. Sure, I also became better because of that fact, but she always had the last word in the end. And her smile changed too. There was no longer this faint warmth emanating from it. It was cold, like this thing I thought I had once seen in her eyes. She finally looked at me the way I was looked at her. I just opened her eyes, and she then saw me for whom I truly was. I didn't feel bad about it. At least I thought I didn't. If I had any emotion back then, it was probably numbed by this excruciating feeling of being humiliated. Also, she stopped saying her usual line when beating me. She continued saying something alright, but it was no longer that line. Instead, she said something like, "Are you even trying?" And she would say it as often as she could. It was no longer simply when we were running against each other, but also during our academic reports, and even during luck-influenced games. My elementary school life ended with an extremely bitter aftertaste. I became the laughingstock of my class, and I somehow helped Cassandra become even better than she already was. A complete defeat, indeed. But there would be other chances for me to prove my worth. I knew there would. A chance to crush her, that is. Middle school brought some changes with it. Well, not right away, but in the second part of the first year for sure. I became taller, or maybe she became smaller? I don't know. Since she was the sole thing I ever set my eyes on, she became my reference when it comes to any kind of physical changes. I could hardly believe it, yet it was something anyone could have predicted. Me becoming taller than her. Well, yeah, you know, that's how puberty works usually. For some unknown reason, we still ended up in the same class. We had somehow chosen the same options, disgustingly enough. Our hatred toward each other was still very real, so it was like we only picked things up from where we left them during elementary school. Her hair was now longer. She started, little by little, to take up shapes, which made her body no longer be regarded as one of a kid anymore. Even I could see how beautiful she was becoming, yet I was still repulsed by her. Likewise, I changed in a drastic fashion. I became taller, and I gained some mass along the way. Again, I was very much an average guy, but I still tried the best I could to keep my body in shape in order to eventually win against her. And that paid off. Or maybe it was just a direct result of those apparent changes. But in any case, I finally started to have the upper hand on her, at least during PE and other physical competitions. I was no longer chasing her, she was now chasing me. Can you at least show a bit of a determination? That was my line. What a joke, really. Couldn't even think of anything clever to say, so I just stole her line and made it my own. And I wouldn't stop at that. I wanted my back to be as far in front of her as it possibly could. So I decided to start playing basketball to build up stamina and keep my body in shape. In no time, I became somewhat popular. And I don't think I was any goat, really. My whole team was just that bad, that's all. And anyway, popularity didn't interest me. My eyes were still locked on her all this time. Sure, I played the card of the cool kid, faking to enjoy everyone's eyes on me, but it was just another way to get back at her. Cassandra. Just her name makes me shudder. She was popular in elementary school, but now she was kind of distant and solitary. Then look at me and acknowledge my existence. It was how I thought. But every time I looked at her way, she never looked at mine. I came to realize that she had lost all interest in our rivalry. It was only natural. I mean, she no longer had any chance when it comes to physical performances. So I decided it was time to change gears. If I wanted to take everything away from her, I would need to build up not only my body, but my mind too. That bitch is ignoring me like that. I'll show you just how much you made me suffer. Alright, Tim, I have a few questions for you, man. I'll ask you later, man. It took me a long time to better my academic results. A long time, indeed. It was all but natural to me, so, in the end, I had no other choice but to drop the basketball team in order to focus on my studies. Oh, God, excuse me. The 2 years of middle school ended, and she was still always one step in front of me. One day to the next, she would stop teasing me, or even look proud of what she's accomplished. The glimpse of darkness that I once saw in her eyes was now the only thing persisting to be seen throughout her features. High school finally came, but luck was not on my side this time around. We no longer had any class in common. Luck. Wonder why I looked at it this way. Probably because tormenting her gave me so much satisfaction. It didn't matter, though. I could still compete with her in the midterm exams and the likes. All I needed to do was keep on studying until I felt completely satisfied with my results. My popularity had already degraded almost to the point of being called inexistent, yet there were still girls that confessed to me from time to time. Oh, you cocky son of a bitch. Every time I would turn them down, though. If I had time messing around with girls, I probably had time to study even longer than I already was. At least that's how I tried to keep myself focused. So, you understand I felt pretty stupid when I first saw her with a boy. Until then, she didn't seem to show any interest in the opposite sex. I wonder why it changed now, of all times. Sure, she was quite good looking. She was a lot more what did I say? Feminine? She was a lot more feminine than when she was younger. No wonder she would be popular with the boys. But with how long I've been watching her, I couldn't think of it any other way than, why now of all times? I was mad. I was disappointed. I felt humiliated. So does that mean she doesn't need to study as much as I do to beat me? Is that what she's trying to say? This made me put even more effort in my studies. There's no way it's gonna end up the way you want it to be this time. I was sure that I would crush her during our next midterms, so you could imagine my surprise when I actually did. The grades of the top 50 were displayed on a sheet of paper in the main hall of the school. Normally, she would be in the top 5 while I would be in the top 10, but this time around, it was reversed. How could this be? I was angry. I should have been happy, but I wasn't. How could I be? This wasn't supposed to be this way. There's too large a margin between the two of us. It was impossible. I remember that right then and there, I looked around me, really pissed off. That's when our eyes met. For the first time in at least a year and a half, our eyes met with each other, and while mine were extremely cold, hers were as passionate as ever, as if she never changed during all those years. She even smiled at me, disgustingly so. I walked in her direction, unable to keep my cool. What's wrong with you? I blurted out as if there was intimacy in our relationship when, in reality, it was the first time I spoke to her since middle school. Oh? Excuse me? She said to me, trying to look clueless at the reason for my forceful approach. I should probably do her voice. What a great actress she is, as if she doesn't know the reason for me to be all worked up. Is this because of your new boyfriend? Is this jealousy I hear? She's doing this on purpose. Don't fuck with me. I took a hold of her collar aggressively and looked her directly in the eyes. I hear others around us talking as though I'm about to hit her or something. They seem almost scared of what I might do, yet she doesn't look scared at all. She reciprocates my stare and waits for my words. What is it with that grade, eh? Are you not taking it seriously anymore now that you have a boyfriend? Is that it? My grade? So you came to talk to me just because of my grade? Her eyes became stern. The inoffensive smile she once had on her face disappeared viciously. Tell me, why is it? Why is she changing all of a sudden? This shouldn't happen. Why, you asked? I don't know. It just ended up that way. That's all. Don't give me that shit. I know you. You know what? She pushed me upon hearing my words. I lost the hold I had on her as a direct result. You know nothing, Tim. You... Whatever. You better get your act together next time, or else I... Else what? A guy closed in on us and put his hand on my shoulder in a warning kind of fashion. Is this that troubling you, Cass? I shook his hand off me and walked away without looking back. I'll show you next time who's the best between the both of us. You better prepare yourself. I think she said something back to me, but I didn't hear it. I was too extremely frustrated by her attitude to hear or see anything around me. People probably looked at me the wrong way, but it didn't matter to me. So, what I'm getting from this is Tim. He's basically, he had this mindset of this Cassandra girl from elementary school, and it doesn't seem to have changed. He still thinks, in his mind, she's out to get him. Whereas, it seems like Cassandra is just kind of living her life her way. Oh god, my throat hurts. As if everything I've been doing has no value. As if I was ever the only one seeing ourselves as rivals. That's, yeah, pretty much what I just said. But this should be okay now. By confronting her like that, I give her a little push. That's all she needs. Her pride will come out on top in the end. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose to her. I'll show her. Just you wait, Cassandra. Cassandra! Cassandra! That's a Wayne's World reference. Stupid I was. Not understanding that the person I thought I hated the most was also the one I needed the most. Is this what we call irony? I had studied for the past 3 years on a multitude of subjects, yet I was so extremely clueless to the most natural things surrounding my life. It was only at the next exam week that I finally realized the obvious flaw in my way of perceiving the world. I was so sure of myself. Oh, for that I was. There was nothing else occupying my mind during all those weeks of self-study in cram school. I'll beat her fair and square. Last time wasn't a fair fight. She had purposely neglected her studies for something as stupid as love. But now will be different. I guess it's probably because of my obsession with my studies that I had yet to notice something so important, something that I shouldn't have missed. In front of the piece of paper which numbered out the best students, I was searching frantically like a madman for something that was definitely supposed to be there. Not there, not there, not there, not even there. What the fuck? That's impossible! She must have changed her name or something. This can't be happening. But no matter how many times I look at it, I was forced to conclude the same thing over and over again. She wasn't here. She was not in the top 50. I thought that maybe, ridiculously enough, she had skipped a year somehow, even though we're in the middle of the semester. But she wasn't in the top of the 30 years either. How could that be? I went directly to the ones in charge of those stupid lists. They probably had made a mistake, useless as they were. That's where I heard something preposterous. Something so fucking ridiculous, I had no other choice but to snap back at them and insult the lots of them. They told me, and this with the most serious tone there is, that she had quit school a month and a half ago. A fucking month and a half! So while I was uselessly, obsessively, foolishly trying to do the best I could to surpass this girl that I thought was my equal, she was messing around probably with boys or whatever, and didn't think of me as even worth the effort. She probably thought she could already have everything in life since she was so fucking good. She left me here like a fool, lingering with this fucking feeling inside of my throat that just doesn't want to disappear. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to believe it. But it was the truth nonetheless. I was just too fucking blind to see it coming, that was all. Fuck! That bitch! She won even when I was sure of winning. This hopeless feeling I was so eager to give her was now stuck within me, unable to get rid of it. She was no longer someone I could go head with since she had given up entirely. I asked for the reason for her departure, and they told me it was of a personal matter. Probably had something to do with her family or whatever, but I knew it wasn't. Fucking bullshit. It was probably her way to get back at me. Knowing that I was finally going to beat her, she just ended up quitting and made sure it never happens. But then I had a revelation. What if I decided to wait for her another year? Yeah, that would be a great idea. I just need to purposely fail and then I realized I just topped number 2 of my last academic results. I was pretty much sure of passing. It seems this Tim guy has a really unhealthy sense of competition. This was over. I had lost the one thing that was keeping me going. For a time, I seriously wondered what I was going to do with my life now that I've lost all interest. But eventually, it didn't matter all that much. Since I had done this for a good part of my youth, I couldn't easily stop. So I just continued studying the best I could, with emptiness as my sole source of motivation. High school came to an end extremely quickly. The last day of school, I looked around me and saw a lot of students, happily chatting together, probably feeling proud of themselves. Some had boyfriends and girlfriends at their side, their arms around them, as though the world no longer had any secret to them. I was the best of my class, one of the best of the whole school, and yet I knew nothing. I felt hollow. I was already going to the top university. I could see my future without anyone telling me, yet I had lost something by becoming who I am. I know this. But since I'm not one of them, I don't know what that is. Chapter 2. A group date. Maybe? Yay, we get to go on a double date. Maybe. 2 years. It took 2 years to see her again. By that time, my majoring was very well underway, as I was starting to be used to the university lifestyle. I was living on my own inside a gloomy one-room apartment for less than a year. I had zero passions, and only knew how to do one thing correctly, which is, of course, studying, as if I was the subject of a curse a long time ago. I didn't know I was so into it. Yeah, I'll probably have a lot of doors open up to me in the future, but what if I don't want to enter any of them? I have no motivation to climb up the ladder. I surely wouldn't know what to do with all the money being thrown at me. But I guess this type of attitude could attract some people, as if they know talking to you would inevitably boost their own self-esteem. That's how I made my first friend since, well, have I ever had a friend before? Well, it's not as if I was seeing him as a friend either way. He was in most of my classes during high school, and took that as an opportunity to start socializing with me during our courses together. I went with the flow, finding my own amusement in his somewhat carefree demeanor. That's when one day, out of nowhere, he decided to invite me to this, I don't remember how it's pronounced. I can't call it a date. A group date, maybe? Fuck it. Anyway, it was this thing where a group of men and women of the same age, and logically of the same number, meet with each other for almost the first time in an attempt to find love. So, speed dating, basically. It was obviously a cheap excuse for trying to find somebody to empty your load in, but whatever. To the point I was in, it didn't matter all that much. Trying to fuck someone was, as most of the men my age, any age really, one of my priorities, even though pretty much inaccessible. I didn't get out of my way to try and have sex, and that's probably the reason why I had zero sex life. So I accepted. He was kinda odd, though. He said to me, "You won't regret it, Tim. I even have a surprise waiting for you." And he would laugh like an imbecile. He was an imbecile. And I only realized what he meant by that when I entered the bar we were meeting at. There were seven waiting, 8 with me, 4 boys, 4 girls. 2 of those girls were completely unattractive, fat or with a big chin and a weird hairstyle. You gotta raise your standards, man. The other one was already almost in bed with that big mouth guy, so those 3 were unfuckable. That was my first thought upon entering the bar. The second thought wasn't as different as the first one, but was still very surprising indeed. It was her. She was there, drinking a beer, casually talking with that other guy, sports-like type. Another one, unfuckable, but of course, not for the same reason. I should just get out of here. This is so pitiful, it's not even funny. That's when Mike, my friend, noticed my arrival and forcefully introduced me to the group. "Oh, this is the guy I was talking about. Hey Tim, come, don't be shy, we were waiting for you." I almost clicked my tongue out loud, but thought otherwise. Maybe that big chin one could be fuckable with a couple of beers. I sat next to my friend. I tried not to look too much on the right-hand side of the table because the symmetry irritated me somehow. I said my name out loud, and said everyone else's name right after. I don't remember any of them, and seriously don't want to use even the most useful part of my brain to store one of them. I still politely greeted everyone until it came to that name. I could introduce you to Cassandra, but I guess I don't have to, right? I looked at him, annoyed. He's clearly happy to introduce her to me, as though me meeting her again would make me happy, like it's a gift or something. Why the fuck does he even want to know the fact that we already knew each other? I said, yeah, with a hand scratching my hair, a bit flustered. Likewise, she didn't look my way at all that much and only said hi, with a voice that could be misunderstood as a whisper. I'm grateful for that. Even if I harbored hatred for her for the most part of my life, but probably still, the fact that she understood my reluctance to face her was what saved the little composure I had left. So I was able to enjoy my beer while chatting with a group of people around me, and it didn't disturb me all that much that she was actually there. It was just that, in the heat of the moment, I didn't know what to think of. I didn't even understand the feeling I had for her anymore. I hated her for so long a time, that for me it was as though she wasn't even human. And the fact that she disappeared completely from my life at one point, my mind almost assumed she was dead. So a non-human presumed dead, looking so lively and joyous, it was only natural that I was baffled a bit. Yeah, that's a good reason. She was sexy. No longer cute or beautiful. Sexy. She had a blue shirt which underlined well over her overly sculpted forms, a a black shirt that I couldn't see very well due to the table. Her hair was loose and ended a bit under her chest. I tried not to look at her, but it was hard when surrounded by ugly girls. I still did what I must, and tried to hook up with Chin Girl in front of me. After an hour and a half, I was at my fourth beer, and the first couple decided to finish the night alone. This made things a bit complicated. Now there were me, the fat girl, my friend, the big chin, the sports dude, and just whatever, the other girl that I once knew. So it was obviously becoming harder and harder to actually not interact with her. That's when the phone of the girl in front of me, Chin, started vibrating. She became kind of hysterical by that. I think it was a message that she received on her phone. She said a couple words to the fat girl seated next to her and then took off. The fat girl looked at me a bit awkward and said, "Sorry." Her ex just texted her, so... As if it was the most understandable thing in the world. So the ugly chick just dumped me for a guy that probably flushed her a while ago. I was depressed, but not for her departure per se, obviously. At least the alcohol started to do its work. That's when everything started to turn into the wrong direction. My friend, who was seated on my left in front of the fat chick, was now seated on my right. The sports dude who I once chatted with, that girl, was now enjoying his time with the fat chick on my left. That's when I realized that my friend, without notifying me in advance, started a rude conversation with her and me. So, we're already to know each other. I was staring at the table with maybe at the beer in my hand, trying not to look too interested. And then she answered him something more giggling, but I don't remember all that much. She too seemed to be drinking quite heavily. That long? Man, I bet you're glad to be able to meet each other like this. Maybe it's fate. Don't you mean fate? Maybe it's fate. Who knows? He was irritating me. It's so obvious that he was the one who pulled this off. Perhaps they were in mesh with each other to humiliate me or something. That's when I uttered something that I probably shouldn't have. I don't know why I thought it would be a great idea. Tell me. I looked at him with a bit of defiance. How do you know that she and I knew each other anyway? I looked at his every change in expression. I probably thought he would be confused, unable to explain himself properly, but that wasn't it. He was surprised that I didn't know the reason behind it. Come on, man. Everyone at high school probably knew about it. Don't you remember? That nasty girl with her friends who started bad rumors about Cass because she just quit school? Ah. Fuck, now I remember. Oh man, I remember still. You were so ruthless. You walked up to those girls and started insulting the shit out of them. About how uneducated they were, how they were wasting their time, and had no future. And then you started numbering every achievement Cass ever accomplished, to the prize she won during some piano competition, to the national rank she topped with her academic results. So, it sounds like he has an unhealthy obsession with her. And you know I'm not one to hit a girl or anything, but this one was asked her for it. She didn't try to listen one bit and was continuously cutting you off about some bullshit she heard somewhere down the street. How ridiculous. This is when I was still very much on edge from losing what I had thought was my only drive in this world. Some bitches were bad-mouthing her about something along the line of prostitution or some stupid shit like that. It was the week after she quit school, so anything goes, I guess. But then, since I had nothing else more useful to do, we started to say some bullshit about her cheating during her exams, or giving sexual bribery to teachers in order to top higher in midterms. That's when I lost my shit. Just telling those ridiculous things would insinuate that the rival I always thought was my equal was nothing more than a fake. This was completely unacceptable. And yes, I would have beaten the shit out of them if it weren't for the teacher meddling with it. Hey Tim, do you remember what you shouted at her to make her shut up? Enough! Even if she prostitutes herself or even cheats during the midterms, doesn't change the fact that she's way better than lots of you. At least she achieved everything she ever set herself out to do. You low-life bitches will never understand the meaning of the term achievements, as long as you still live in this world. You understand, you worthless piece of shit? I remember it down to the very last syllable. I have no fucking clue why, though. He said it out loud. Not nearly as perfect as I remembered it, but it was still surprising hearing it from someone else's mouth. I then instantly noticed her blushing by understanding the meaning of those words. This was bad. This was a misunderstanding. I never said this in order to protect her. I said it because... At that moment, I knew for a fact that you were head over heels for her. And I found it so tragic that you probably never had a chance to say it to her. So you can understand why, when I met with her out of absolutely nowhere at my part-time job, he points casually toward her. I had to try to arrange something out for the both of them. So, that's why you invited me here tonight? I was then at my 5th beer, and I was not what we could call a heavy drinker back then. So, I was agitated, alright, just it was easily concealed by my wasted features, which were naturally more blatant. Yeah, man, what else? We're friends, right? You look so down all the time, I thought this might cheer you up. You didn't have to. Seriously, you didn't have to. Fucking idiot. She wasn't saying anything much. She was looking my way silently, but I couldn't muster the strength to look at her directly. I wondered why she was so silent when she was saying all those things which were directly related to her. Then, oh, that's my girlfriend texted me. Sorry guys, da-da-da. My useless friend got himself up in a hurry. What? What do you mean? You have a girlfriend? What was he doing here then? Yeah, today was for you, man. He approached me ever so slightly, his breath bringing the stench of warm beer with it. He whispered to my ear. Enjoy yourself, will you? And with this, he disappeared without a trace. Well, not disappeared, but I was intoxicated to a point where the actions of my mind perceived around me were as though they were made in fast forward. Life and time were moving rapidly without my consent. This was extremely awkward. I turned to my left to ask the other two what they had planned to do. I desperately wanted to end the night right then and there, but... Hey, have you any idea what... There was no longer anyone seated there. Noticing this, I looked around me, realizing that she and I were the only ones left at the table. They took off 10 minutes ago, maybe. Or was it 15? For the first time that night, I made eye contact with her. Her face was flushed slightly red by the effect of the alcohol. It would have been visible to a blind that she was totally wasted. I didn't want to speak to her. I didn't want to have another minute wasted in her presence. Social etiquette was forcing me to, at the very fucking least. Make sure she doesn't die before reaching her home. Let's get out of here. I said, pretty coldly. She accepted right away. She didn't show any fear of being alone with me, even though we were complete strangers to one another. Want to take a cab? I asked partially, and she said, let's walk for a bit. Let's walk for a bit, alright? I clicked my tongue, but this time I made sure she heard it alright. She didn't mind, or at least she didn't show it. Is they gonna have sexy times? She had a smile plastered on her face ever since we left the bar, not slightly affected by my cold behavior. She looked happy, irritatingly so. We didn't talk at all. We were completely silent, and it was alright with me. It was alright, until she stumbled a bit on my shoulder accidentally. Sorry. Her body touched mine. I felt, for the 2 extremely little seconds it lasted, the form of her breast on my arm, and then the palm of her hand on my shoulder. I don't like where this is going. It was then that I realized that she was a member of the opposite sex. She looks happy, doesn't she? With the happiness that she stole from me. If she hadn't quit school on that day, I'm sure our expressions would be reversed right now. Yet, she's always been the one with the smile in the end, while we continued walking silently, but we're somehow closer now that I helped her back on her feet. Wait a minute. Isn't it that kind of situation? You know, the one where I walk her by the closest hotel and she's too wasted to understand what's going on? Maybe If I asked her nicely, she would even follow me willingly. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm hoping this doesn't go where I think it's going. Maybe she's still a virgin? Wouldn't that be wonderful? I couldn't satisfy myself by taking away her pride back then, but what about now? I could probably rape her and take this away from her. Please don't! That pride, and most of all, that smile. My jeans are starting to feel tight by those simple thoughts. I take another hard look at her. Yes, what a beautiful body she has. Those hips and those breasts. Even her lips seem obscene right now. It would be a total shame for her to be entirely ruined by a complete stranger. To be completely strained without any means of getting this purity she has back. I could probably play with her over and over again until her mind becomes as hollow as mine. It has now reached its complete magnitude. The throbbing sensation is starting to be felt in anticipation for this forbidden act my thoughts are drowning themselves in. One simple look at me would have probably given it away, but she's too preoccupied with trying to walk straight to even look my way. Imagining such presence, so tainted with the sin of my imagination, let loose without any restraint, only pushes me further down this unforgiving path that shouldn't be crossed. But I already decided, didn't I? I'm already fantasizing on her purity, only to increase the pain I would most definitely inflict on her. Oh my god, no! I want to make her cry, realizing she will lose something she will never get back. At that time, I will let every last tear from her face until she's completely drained out. My hand approaches her thighs slowly. If I just simply get my hand around her to help her keep her balance as an excuse, I could easily control our destination. That moment will seal her fate, and at that time, I will rip away that smile from her perfect face that I always hated so much. Maybe, at the end of the day, I will be satisfied enough to forgive her. Maybe at the end of the day, I will finally become whole again. The only thing I regret is of not having acted the part at the start of the night. If I had faked to be gentle and caring, had laughed with her about how young we were back then, I could have pushed her even further down the road of complete helplessness by betraying even her expectations. She said softly out of nowhere. I abruptly stopped my hand from getting any further. She didn't notice because I was too focused on her alluring forms, but she was looking at my face. For how long? I have no idea. But she saw it. That, I'm sure of it, my disgusting expression, already tarnishing her with my eyes. She saw everything, and yet the only thing she said was, I'm sorry. I knew how much you hated me, yet Then she stumbled on me again, with even less restraint. Her eyes, those eyes, I remember. Were they really this way? Can't be. I stopped brusquely. By that means, she stopped too herself. Do you have any money? I asked mechanically. Not much. She replied, as if knowing the question would inevitably be asked. It can't be helped. I pulled out my phone, and again, mechanically inputted a string of numbers. What are you doing? I didn't reply to her. I didn't even look her way. Instead, yes, at the intersection of, and put away my phone, emotionlessly. Tim, I thought it would have been nice to talk for a bit. Don't you wanna? She seems let down. What does this woman want from me? She didn't see my face just a moment ago? Is she that desperate to be raped by some loser like me? I take my wallet out, take two $20 bills, and shove her in her hand violently. The taxi will be there in 5 minutes. Does she cover the bill? I turn around without waiting, or saying goodbye for all that matter. She doesn't say anything either. She simply looks at me with those eyes. Those eyes which are even colder than mine. Oh my god. Oh. God. I did not want that to go to the place I thought it was gonna go. Oh my god. Oh, my heart was pounding. Oh. I think I'm gonna make this episode a two-parter. I'm already going on like 45 minutes. Whew. Oh god, I was scared there for a moment. I thought that was actually gonna go down. I was so scared because yeah, rape is not something I tolerate. It's not something I joke about. It is one of the most evil things that a person can ever do. But yeah, this game is going to some dark places. But yeah, I will end it here. Thank you for joining me. You know, like down below, comment, subscribe, whatever you feel like doing. You know, it's your happiness that counts. I will see you next time. Bye bye.